All right, excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself, introduce our speaker, and introduce the other lovely lady who's with us today. My name is Tom Manowitz. I am the college division manager for USA Ultimate. Um, what we have here today is the second in a the second well, the first in the March series. We've our second series of webinars for the STAR program, season training and recruitment. As you all know, Jim Aspholm, the man in the beard, is going to be presenting today on issues related to developmental teams. The goal is to provide an informal presentation and allow you to ask Jim, Amy, and myself some questions. And then you'll also notice Amy Hudson, who is the National Developmental College Coordinator, who is with us today as well. All of us can be resources to you. Even during this webinar or after, I hope you get a chance to even meet some people who are on the webinar now. Just let us know. So if you have questions as Jim goes along, feel free to use the chat function at the bottom. And then Amy and I will be taking questions and we'll answer them at the end. If it's super relevant, we might interrupt Jim and let him know that there's a question to be answered. Amy, Jim, do you guys have anything else to add?
Now I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm excited to field any questions. Feel free to email me whenever.
All right. With that, Jim.
I gotta turn the Mead's microphone off. How do we do that?
I got it.
All right, perfect. Hello everyone. My name is Jim Aspholm, also known as Big Jim to some people. And I am a coach of the Wisconsin B and C team. I've been with the Wisconsin Ultimate Frisbee program for about 10 years. I played for 5 years on the Pimp Dags, the Wisconsin B team, and I've been coaching now. This is my 5th year coaching them. So the talk today is called Nurturing B Teams and Creating Strong Programs. It's about, it's kind of the things that I've learned coaching and playing on a B team within a really strong ultimate program at a college that's competes for national championships, and also working on the dynamic between the B and the C team at Wisconsin, and what I feel is kind of a younger program interaction between those two teams. So first, I want to talk a little bit just about why B teams are dope. I think B teams are great. I think they're awesome, and I think the number one reason that B teams are great is because everyone gets to play more ultimate. So B teams allow for more people to play more points more often in more tournaments, and that leads to more people falling in love with the sport of ultimate, which is great. And then the second reason why B teams are good is because it provides a stronger player base for both an A team and a B team. So A and B teams interact in a way that allows programs to grow stronger together. So why make a B team? Like I said, I think they're awesome. I think that they're really fun in and of themselves. With, even if you never make an A team, like I never played for the Hodags, I have been in the program for 10 years. I really valued it. It's been great. I think within the context of the program, if you're an A team captain, if you're one of the best players on your team, why should you care about a B team? Well, if you care about the program, if you care about the team that you're playing on, B teams are a really strong way to groom players for the future, even if you don't necessarily care about other people enjoying themselves, but you should. So I think players develop more quickly on the B team, especially guys that are going to be towards the end of your bench. So like the 15th or 20th best player on the A team is going to be on the universe line on a B team. And so instead of going into a tournament and playing 2 or 3 or 4 points in a game, they're going to be playing 12 or 15 points in a game, and that's just accelerates their development very strongly. B teams are great to keep young prospects in the program. So if you have like these freshmen come in and they're really excited about Ultimate, but maybe they haven't really thrown discs before, or maybe they are just nervous about committing to the sport of Ultimate and committing to all the work that it takes to become a great player, B teams provide that opportunity to play without necessarily the really strong commitment that a lot of A teams require. It provides leadership positions. I'm a team lead at the engineering firm that I work for, and I think most of the skills that I use at my job have been honed by being a B team player and a B team coach, someone in charge of guys. Also, finally, the reason you should make a B team is because they have excellent nicknames and excellent jerseys. So, for example, just in the North Central region, the Hodags and the Pimp Dags, or Grey Duck and Ugly Duckling from Minnesota, or the greatest B team name ever, the Grinnell-Eleanor Roosevelts. So you get to have a sweet jersey with Grinnell-Eleanor Roosevelt on it. So we're going to talk, if we can move the slide along. So we're going to talk a little bit. So we're going to talk a little bit about program strength and when is the best time to make cuts, when is the best time to form a developmental team. So if you're a program that is starting out, or you're a program that is just getting on their feet, definitely not a time to start a B team. I would recommend starting a B team if you are routinely bringing 25 players to tournaments. That means to start, you want to be making cuts in the spring, and you don't want to start making cuts until you've got at least 30 players in the spring heading into the competitive season. So at the same time, if you show up with 30 plus guys to a conference championship, that's probably not ideal, because the guys at the front, they're going to be looking to make regionals, and they're going to be really focused on being competitive, and the players at the back end, the last 10 or 12 guys, probably aren't going to play a whole lot, and that's exactly what B teams are for. It's for the guys at the back half of a program to get as much playing time as possible. I recommend for earlier or for younger programs to make cuts in the spring, and for you want to have probably 40 or 50 players interested in the fall if you're going to make cuts in the fall. So if you are deciding, hey, we've got these 30 plus players in the spring, or we've got 40 to 50 guys interested in the fall, then we're going to be, here are kind of the things to look for as far as making cuts. You want to be very clear about what expectations you're looking for. At Wisconsin, we're all about, physical athletes. We're about working really hard. And so other programs have different specifications. Other programs might be looking for throwers. They might be looking for veterans. They might just be looking for smart kids that can get their homework done and not fail out of school. That's a skill set that's important for players to have. So whatever the criteria are, leadership need to be ready to provide constructive criticism throughout the trial process and when you decide to make cuts. I recommend making cuts via phone call. So I still remember the phone call that I got from Dan Heyman, who was a captain of the Hodags when I was a freshman, and it meant a lot to me. It made me feel like I was part of the program. even though I got cut. So the phone call is really the beginning of player retention and of developing the sense of program. So you're moving beyond an ultimate team and into an ultimate program with the formation of a B team. And the phone call is that first step. Um, so you're deciding on a program, you're forming a program. What is the emphasis of your program? So again, Wisconsin, hard work, defense, physical athletes, just punishing track workouts, etc. But now you've got a B team, you've got a group of guys. It's important to tailor the emphasis of your B team to the people you have. So on the Pimp Dags, we're not as concerned with chilly offense as the Hodags are. We're not as concerned with great handler movement when we bring 4 or 5 handlers to tournaments. So we are all about hard work. We're all about strong defense, but other parts of the Wisconsin program don't apply to us, and instead we have things like jamming it up the line is a big part of our team. Taking deep shots, big part of our team. So you can build a program, you can tailor a program around specific issues. A couple things. So as far as organization goes, I like to think of the captains and coaches of the A team as the captains and coaches or the people that are leaders of the program to start. So especially if you're making cuts in the spring, the guys who are in charge of rostering for the A team can be in charge of rostering for the B team as well. The guys that are in charge of interfacing with your rec sports department can be in charge for both the A and the B team, because that's like program level stuff. And then as you become more developed and as the coaches and the captains become a little more clear in advance, that's when you can start shifting responsibility towards B team players. All right. So you've decided you're going to make a program. You're going to make cuts. Now you've made cuts, and it's time to work on your team as a B team or as a developmental team. So a couple very important things. Defining your program philosophy. So like I said, you can borrow some of that from the A team. Wisconsin, we borrow the really hard work, track workouts, defense, man defense, etc. But you also want to have your own style and your own flair. So as an example, 1 year and for a couple years afterwards, the Pimp Dags decided we're going to be really good at inside breaks. So that was something that we practiced every single day, every single practice. We decided we were going to be the team that throws inside breaks. And that was like our calling card. And that was something that we kind of rallied around, was like throwing inside breaks. That's just an example. You can be like a team that, whatever, has dance parties in between timeouts or in between points. That was the thing that my club team did this season. But just developing, some kind of thing that you can rally around, and that's like the team that you are. Crafting goals which are reachable within. Oh gosh, here we go. So, all right, B team time. So one of the main struggles both within B teams and all developing teams to start are retaining players. How do you retain interest? How do you get people to come out and stay out? Especially when you're cutting, when the A team is cutting players, or when you're recruiting players after cuts have been made. Player retention's huge. I mentioned giving people a phone call. That's nice. One of the things that Wisconsin does right away is we order jerseys. We start talking about ordering jerseys on the very first practice that we have. And we get jerseys, like reversible jerseys, ordered within 2 weeks of everyone being cut from the A team. And that kind of, number one, it gives everyone a jersey to wear to practice that's both white and dark, but it also provides some team unity, so everyone looks the same and everyone's like, oh, this is an actual team that actually has, their act together. So that's really nice. Setting clear goals, which are reasonable and account for player makeup. So some teams' goals are like win nationals or make nationals every year. B team goals, developmental team goals, new team goals, probably not that. The B team goal at Wisconsin this year is win this B team tournament in Pittsburgh that they're having, make regionals, and finish in the top half of regionals. Our C team's goal is to win more than one game at a tournament. So, depending on the level of team, that's where we roll. You want to be able to craft practices to your personnel. So again, if you have a bunch of guys that are not that experienced, maybe you want to be playing a lot of mini. If you have a lot of if you only are having 8 or 10 or 12 players at practices, you don't necessarily want to have full 7-on-7s. You want to have games of mini, games with a lot of touches, games with break marks, and working out, marks, etc., footwork. So the last thing is kind of, developing, balancing development with fun. So like, sometimes it helps to just work on this drill that's like rote muscle memory, and you're going at it for 15-20 minutes, and that's a grind, but that's a necessary thing to develop, like an inside flick. But other times you just want to play a game of box because box is really fun, and at the end of the day, if things aren't fun, then players aren't necessarily going to stick around. So one of the biggest issues as far as player retention goes, and one of the things that a lot of teams struggle with, something that I went through, something that a lot of people go through on B teams is, or on any kind of, probably a lot of teams, but is dealing with a disparity in experience and skill level and commitment level. So the reality of a lot of teams is there's guys at the top that really want to win and they want to be the best ultimate player they can be, and they're working really hard, and they have a couple teammates that are like that, but there's the team depends on players that are less committed than that like ultimate and it's fun for them, but they're not, ready to kill themselves 6 days a week or drive 1,000 miles every other weekend to go to tournaments. So gauging the level of commitment and trying to cultivate that commitment in the fall is really important in being able to rely on that in the spring. And so some things for that is like, even, you get cut from a program, you're in charge of the B team or you're the coach of a B team, and you want to be like, all right, we're going to work super hard and everyone's going to be development and we're going to be so good and all this stuff. And if you go in there gung-ho, that's great for some players, but recognizing that other players might only be really willing to commit to 2 or 3 practices a week, if that. You want to walk a line between too few practices where you get no development, you just aren't a cohesive team, versus too many practices. The committed players are going to get burned out, and the uncommitted players are going to be overwhelmed by what they feel is a really burdensome activity, instead of easing them in and really feeling like, oh, this is something I want to enjoy, and they choose to come. So one of the things within practices that we do is develop drills that have multiple focuses. So like Dragon Strike, for those of you that have heard of it, is a great drill that allows for players that are working on unders to throw unders, players that are working on deeps to throw deeps, and players that are working on breaks to throw break throws. So if you can craft drills that allow for many different levels of ability is great. Finally, for B teams, big thing that I really agree with is try to go to at least one really well organized tournament with your A team, or just if you're like just a starting out team, try to go to one like kind of real organized tournament each semester, and try to go to one without your A team as well if possible. So Without Limits is a great, super organized tournament, especially if you're a women's team. Women's B teams, there's a ton of women's teams at those tournaments more than other tournaments. So, like, Michelle puts on a really good and organized clinic. So I'd recommend if you can figure out a way to get to a Without Limits tournament, especially if you're a women's team or women's development team. Um, we used to go to Chicago Invite. That was like our big thing, and now that's defunct. But going to a big, serious tournament once a year really can help your team understand like how great Ultimate is, and like having lined fields and stuff like that. Super big. Um, so other than that, I just kind of want to recap. B teams are awesome. Development is awesome. Ultimate is awesome. And I am now ready to field questions, I guess. So, so turns out, number one question, I talked about Dragon Strike and how great it was. Dragon Strike is drill where you have a guy with a disc and he's being marked on the sideline. Oh gosh, there's no way this is going to show up. Could have been more prepared for this. There's a dude or a woman who's marked on the sideline, and there's a player here that cuts and can come under or can go deep. And if they cut under, then they can go this way and get a break throw. Sorry, that's a very poor illustration. I'll do better sometime soon. I will make a animated one and we can link it or something.
I think it's great.
Sorry, I was super not prepared for Q&As.
It's all good. Jim, before we start Q&A,
Yes.
let's get a little organized here.
Yes.
For those of you watching, now it's sort of an open time to ask Jim questions. Amy and I are here to answer questions as well. Use the chat feature below. We'll try and answer them in order, and Jim will respond. To get things started, one thing that I was what I was thinking about is a lot of these principles that you're talking about now, getting team buy-in, getting people involved, commitment level. Do these apply to brand new programs as well? I mean, is this something you would apply to a team that's just starting up?
For the most part, yes. So I would definitely apply the team building stuff. Try not to overwhelm new players. Order jerseys as soon as possible. Try to go to at least one well-organized and well-oiled tournament every semester. I think those are really good emphases, as well as setting realistic team goals and trying to stick to those team goals are all really helpful.
Cool. All right, we got a question from Ludden below. How do the Pimp Dags choose captains? Do the previous year's teams choose, or do the Hodags captains put input in?
Okay, so this is actually like one way in which developmental teams are a little bit different from A teams. The Pimp Dags often we lose not only our most experienced players to graduation, but also the best players to the A team. So other teams choose captains in the spring, and we go into the fall knowing the Pimp Dags choose captains after cuts have been made. So that requires coaches. It requires certain players, or it requires veterans to lead practices without without necessarily having captains chosen. So after the first 2 weeks of practice, usually full team practice, we have a nomination period and then a voting period. So it usually takes about 3 weeks to have to choose captains after final cuts have been made.
One thing I would want to add and ask about is, do you have B team veterans each year that you kind of know are going to stick around the B team, who choose to do that?
Yeah, after my freshman and sophomore year, I became someone that was just on the B team for the rest of my career, and so I kind of voluntarily cut myself every year after that. And we have guys like that on the team now who get cut in the first round of tryouts and are helping out with B team organization from the get go. And some of those guys are in leadership position once we vote for captains, and some of those guys are just enthusiastic veterans and members of the team. All right, Leah asks, how do we choose goals for the season? Oh, your mic, Amy, your mic's not on.
Sorry. Great. So Leah was talking about the goals for this season, and you mentioned more competition-based goals that you guys have, which is exciting to win tournaments. And I was wondering if you could also elaborate on not only how do you determine those goals that you're going to have, but what are other examples of things that you might strive for in a season for your team?
So some internal goals that I have as a coach every year are to get multiple guys onto the Hodags the next year. Um, so a lot of choosing goals for the season, we send out a survey at the beginning of the year as coaches, and we ask, what are you looking to get out of the season? Are you trying to be the best ultimate player you can be? Are you willing to work really hard? Are you just someone that wants to play ultimate? And you can kind of gauge people's level of commitment as well as people's willingness to work hard from that survey, and then craft team goals based on that. So other examples, we have guys that are, okay, we want to make the Hodags next year, or we have guys that are, I want to be able to complete forehand passes in games. There are players who want to be on the universe line on the B team. There are guys who want to be captains or be the best player on the team. So we take players' individual goals, and then we kind of a lot of the team level goals for our team are based on kind of what I feel are the strength of the freshman class, the strength of the returning players, and kind of how I view the rest of the North Central region and the developmental competition region. All right. Victor asks, do we face any problems with players who are good enough to get to the A team but don't want to? In the past, there have been a couple. Those people are often not problems. For the most part, the history of players that are good enough to play on the A team that choose to play on the B team instead. A lot of the times, it's guys that are really focused on school, or that they need to be able to miss practice once in a while or to miss a tournament to do schoolwork. But often those guys, if you're good enough to play on the A team, a lot of times it's because you're a committed player, you're a good player that has a lot of strong on-field ability, and so you can be a really good presence for that team, for the B team, for the developmental team. So, underclassman chosen to be a B team captain. How do you get the trust of the upperclassmen and be that authoritative figure? You got to work your ass off, honestly. So on my time with the Pimped Eggs, we've had 3 players that were voted captain as sophomores, and um, a lot of the time it's been guys who were captains of things in high school, but that um, they weren't even necessarily the best players on the field. It was their ability to organize, and especially for B teams, hopefully you guys have a coach, and so maybe you don't, but like hopefully you have a coach, and the coaches can do a lot of the coaching, and the organizational stuff really falls to captains. So working hard to schedule practices, working hard to get tournament bids in, etc. Got to work. What do you do if you don't have a coach? Try and find one. But if failing that, so one of the things that's helpful if you are a B team instead of just a new team is that there are often alumni that are around. We've got several A team alumni that are helping to coach the B team right now, and in the past we've had both B and A team alumni coach the Pimped Eggs. But if you don't have a coach, there is quite a bit of good resources online as far as coaching goes. I know Tina Booth has written extensively about coaching. Lou Burris has written extensively about coaching. There are some good articles and kind of thought pieces about how to be an effective coach online.
Yeah, Bill, we can provide you with some more resources. I think that there's a bunch on the USA Ultimate website, but it's a little in the weeds to get to. So I'll try and find the link during this presentation, but it can be sent out later.
Yeah, Bill, if you want some links to resources, happy to provide. There's a lot of stuff around the internet. A couple old coaching blogs that were developed, which Jim mentioned, with people like Bill Burris and and people like that. And Bill Burris is the coach of the women's Oregon team, or the former coach of the women's Oregon team, who's won a lot of national championships. And there's a lot of great coaching minds out there that have produced some stuff. If you want help finding it, just let us know and we can get you links.
Okay. Pragmatically for funding, field space, and organizational purposes, I believe that we are one club team. But now this goes to talking about the program as a whole. The Hodags are basically in charge of all of that stuff. So we are a sister program to them or a brother program to them. And the people could, because they have a presence from year to year, and it's really guys that are on the B team here might get taken to the A team the next year. The Hodags handle all of the club related rec sports stuff. And then I think for the first couple of years, if you're looking to start a B team, I would recommend that the person that's in charge of rostering for your A team does the rostering for both the A and the B team. And I know that rostering is it's kind of a lot of work, but it's gotten easier. And so hopefully it will continue to be easier as we move forward. Meredith, great question. This is actually something that I think a lot about, because when you talk about, I didn't want to get super bogged down in it during my presentation, but practice and the pace of practice is super important. The first practice or the first couple practices are really some of the most important time where you still have interest from players that are just checking the sport out in the fall. So one thing that I found really helps is um, instead of warm up jogs, you have like a four in the box, or you have some sort of just like little running around, milling about, tossing discs thing, and then a deliberate dynamic warm up. I think something that's really big is you want to tailor the drills to how many people you have. So you never want to have a line with more than like 4 or 5 people in it, because if players are standing around for more than 15 seconds in a line, they're going to get bored. They're going to start talking. They're not going to be focused on the drill. Another thing that I kind of took from Hector Valdivia, who's the captain of or the coach of the Hodags, is like giving players a specific amount of time for water is super helpful, because number one, it gives them a mental break to say, okay, so you say, all right, 3 minutes, you guys have water. We're going to begin the next drill. That gives you time to set up new cones and set up stuff for drills, and it gives them the mental break of, okay, I have 3 full minutes now. I can talk with my teammates about whatever. We can talk about the chemistry lecture we had or whatever. So that gives players a built-in time to socialize for 3 or 5 minutes during practice, and it gives you time to set up drills so that they're not milling about and expecting something to happen while you're running around with cones.
Good point.
One of the things that we do, so you got to make sure you get to at least one, and hopefully 2 or 3 tournaments in the fall. So you got to hook them early. We always try and have a tournament just 2 weeks after the tryout tournament. So getting guys ready to go, get them jerseys, get them on the field, have them play. And then as far as now it's snowing out and it's terrible. Doing stuff like watching previous games together, or like watching videos, DVDs of practices, partying. I mean, I've heard that college teams party sometimes. That can be a team builder. Um, but I don't know, working hard. I mean, we on the Wisconsin team love working hard. Or I love working hard. So that was just a big thing, was actually like bonding over workouts, and really um, try to go to indoor tournaments is another thing. But if you can cultivate an enthusiasm for working hard, that can obviously be really helpful.
Yeah, Jim mentioned Hotbox earlier, so there's a lot of fun drills that you can do that are take only small amounts of space, like mini, and great for conditioning and skill development.
Also, if you can, oh,
It's all good. No, Jim, you go. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, like, if you have an ability to get like a volleyball court or a basketball court where you have some indoor space, doing like footwork stuff. If you have a volleyball court, just playing double disc court. I know it's not sand, but like just doing disc skills type stuff. Even though you're not necessarily able to do throwing, is going to be helpful, and it's a challenging thing. So
Hey, Bryce, what I was going to say is sort of every sort of as your season goes on, certainly in the wintertime in Buffalo and New York, teams are and organizers are starting to organize more indoor tournaments, and that's something that Jim mentioned. Um, there are organizations like that we can help reach connect you to, that are looking for teams, college teams, club teams, for recreational tournaments. They're not tournaments that are on the USAU website. They're not um, regular season college tournaments, but there are other playing opportunities for B teams that can get you experience indoors during the winter in those cold places. Jim and I both spent a lot of time in the North Central, so we know all about the cold. anyone else have any questions? Looks like Bill is typing. All right. If not, I want to go back to a question that was asked earlier and do a little bit of a plug for something that we've got coming up at USA Ultimate pretty soon. So Ludden asked the question, for funding, are you guys separate clubs? How do you guys deal with field space? How to deal with funding? One of the things USA Ultimate has thought a lot about in the recent future is how can we help teams build programs and gain legitimacy within their rec sports department. So we started looking around at other programs around the country for club teams and sort of things that could help teams build legitimacy. And we're not talking about just teams who compete at the national championships. We're talking about teams who build strong programs who are sustainable. And what we came up with is the ACE program. The ACE program is it's essentially an incentive program. It's the Achieving Collegiate Excellence program. It's going to be launched on the USA Ultimate website this week. So you guys, for being in the webinar, are getting a little bit of a sneak peek. So the mission statement is providing a structure to incentivize and recognize growth and sustainability of college ultimate programs based on team development and alignment with the USA Ultimate mission. A lot of people don't know what the USA Ultimate mission is, but it is founded on character, community, and competition. So competition is a big part of it. And a lot of teams that have B teams, have an A team that are, like Wisconsin, are rearing to go and rearing to go to nationals and win nationals. But there are other parts about being an ultimate team that we want to start recognizing and getting teams and specifically programs. So entire programs, A and B teams together, an opportunity to go to their club sports department and say, hey, we are considered an excellent program by USA Ultimate. The details are going to be coming soon, but I just want to make sure you guys start looking out for the USA Ultimate website in terms of what it is and what we plan to do with it. This year is going to be the pilot year for the ACE program, but I think in years to come, it's going to be something that's going to build a lot of momentum and get a lot of teams involved. And so B teams, so programs with A and B teams, programs that have young leadership, a lot of the things that we talked about today, these are the things that we're looking for, not just competitive excellence. Amy, do you have anything to add about it?
Yeah, I wanted to add that as someone who was in College Ultimate and coached College Ultimate for a while, this is not only a great way for USA Ultimate to identify people who are teams and programs that we think embody what Ultimate should be about, but it's also a chance for you guys to take this reward, this recognition back to your funding agencies, your schools, your club sports programs, and actually say, hey, we're doing great things in our community. Here's a summarized reason of why you should be giving us more funds so that we can travel further, so that we can recruit more. And yeah, we're doing this more not just to say give out gold awards and whatnot. We're doing this for our club team or our college teams to get more money, get something out of it.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited about it. You'll get some more info on it soon. So that said, I'm waiting to see if there are any other questions for Jim. We've got about 15 minutes, or we can end early. Really appreciate all of you that have come out. This was a great webinar. And yeah, that's great to hear, Ludden. That's great to hear. So, if anybody else has any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we can call it an evening, and you guys can get back to your schools, get back to your programs, and start practicing.
Shout out to the Hodags for winning Trouble in Vegas this past weekend. And shout out to the Pimp Dags who don't have anyone arrested yet on spring break.
It's important. Don't want anybody arrested. No way. All right. Thanks, everybody. We're going to end the meeting.